Good morning. My name's Joanne Gallopole. I'm an attorney at Coast to Coast Legal Aid. I'm here with Geraldine DiBianchi, who also is an attorney and my colleague. And you may have seen Geraldine or know her because she drives our mobile justice van around Broward County, visiting our residents who are homebound or transportation challenged. So you may have seen her out in the community. But we wanted to bring you this essential conversation for Women's History Month with two very prominent national consumer law attorneys who are prominent in the consumer law area, who we work with regularly, much to my delight, and who are just honored and humbled to have taken some time out of their day to come speak with us and to speak with you out in the community. So we're here with Sarah Boiling Mancini with National Consumer Law Center and Andrea Bopp Stark. In a minute, I'm going to pass it to them so that they can tell you a little bit about themselves. And then we're just going to have a light, easy conversation about some of the consumer law issues that they've been seeing. And, you know, if there's any in particular issues regarding being a female attorney that have impacted their work at all, or their lives for that matter. So Sarah, I'm just going to kick it to you. Just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Thank you so much, Joanne. We're so happy to be with you from the National Consumer Law Center. And it's wonderful to take this time to think about what it means to be a woman in our practice and also for the clients we represent. The National Consumer Law Center focuses on advancing economic justice for low-income consumers and fighting for economic justice. And I think a lot of that work centers women, because when we think about low-income people and people who need to have our concern when it comes to financial products and scams, we know that there are many women heads of household who are, and women in relationships who are struggling financially, that our system makes it difficult for everyone, but many times makes it especially difficult for women to reach economic sufficiency and to maintain that stability. So the National Consumer Law Center really works across so many areas of consumer law, including mortgage protections, preventing foreclosures, rental issues, including access to rental housing and credit reports, background checks. We also work on student loan issues, debt collection, really this wide range of things, because we care about helping people, again, maintain that economic stability, and women are always part of that focus. Andrea, do you want to say a little bit about yourself and
how your work focuses? About yourself, Sarah.
Well,
yes, Sarah,
tell us NCLC background. And all right. So I've been with NCLC. I work in Atlanta, Georgia, and my work focuses mainly on preventing mortgage foreclosure. So that's what I'll say. And then I'll let Andrea go next.
Thank you. All right. Yes. Thanks, Sarah. So Sarah did summarize quite well what NCLC does. And I'll just add that a lot of our work is focused on policy, working with state and federal laws to try and change those to help consumers. We also do a lot of education. So we have 3 major conferences a year. We provide webinars. We provide, treatises that help attorneys who are practicing in the field. So our education focuses on training attorneys in the field to bring on these cases and to fight for consumers. We don't represent individual clients. We do some class action work, but we really do focus on trying to support and educate attorneys to bring these clients and work with individual clients. And my career started working with individual clients. I've been practicing for over 25 years, and I started in legal services. Then I went to a very small private firm in Maine, and I'm in Maine, but I work now in the NCLC Boston office, and I've worked for NCLC for about 5 years. But before that, it was all litigation, and most of it was consumer litigation.
And I'll just interject. I think you're both already aware of this, but your work impacts nationally so many different people right here in Broward. I haven't had a case. I've had a lot of cases that have just, left me a little bit stumped, not really sure where to start. You're both always available. You both know the ins and outs of everything. Andrea, you write those really, I'm sure they're time intensive writings, the manuals, for reverse mortgages, for Um, I just contacted you with a case I was unsure about. You're always available. You guys are knowledgeable, and you have an impact even way down here in Broward. So I just wanted to say that also and to thank you again, because we're always so appreciative that we can contact you.
Yeah, I'm going to go off of what Joe said, just so our audience is aware. This is Women's History Month, and when Joe and I sat down and brainstormed who we would like, the two of you were the first ones that popped up because you are rock stars amongst the consumer world, the consumer attorney world, and you teach and train all of us and give us information that we use, like Joe said, daily. It's something that's invaluable, and the two of you are highly educated and highly experienced. So we really appreciate you taking your time out of what you do to help all of us and consumers in particular.
Yeah, count on Geraldine to take what I say and make it sound much more eloquent from here on out. That's how it's going to be. Okay.
I'll add that we really need to hear from you, and we really appreciate hearing from you, because when we get in kind of our silo of doing policy work and the treatises and the webinars and conferences, we don't have that direct grassroots link to consumers and what they're facing, what they're going through on a day-to-day basis. So it's essential for people like you, Joanne, to reach out to us, tell us what's going on, let us know what's going on, and then we can research and try and figure out strategies. And we also like to connect lawyers who are on the ground doing this work so that you all can talk about the problems you're facing and discuss strategies for helping people, because like I said, we don't do the individual representation, so we don't always know exactly what's going on the ground. So it really is essential to have this relationship with you and other legal aid and attorneys in general in the field.
Yeah, that's our shared common goal, right? To help our consumers, to keep people in their homes. Geraldine and I work in the senior law unit, so all of our clients are 60 and older. A lot of them, have language issues. They may not have been born in Florida or in the United States for that matter. And we all just work, I think, to accomplish a common goal. So
I agree.
We're just grateful you're there.
Yep, you all spearhead a great, if I could boil it down to a problem-solving center is what you really do. You help us solve our problems, and you use what we tell you is going on, and you take it and you run with it and really give us great tools to help work through our clients' problems. So we thank you for that.
Are there any topics that you're seeing at NCLC that are maybe newer topics that you're just now trying to figure out how to combat, how to legislate against, how to protect consumers from?
Well, and there's always evolving issues, but I think particularly since we're thinking about Women's History Month, there are some issues we've been working on that really especially impact women. And one of them for me in particular is this issue of what we call successors in interest, which is a person who obtains the family home through a death or divorce and is not the original borrower on the mortgage. That problem, by and large, disproportionately impacts women because they're more likely to survive a partner or to obtain a home through a divorce or separation agreement, and to have not been one of the original borrower on the mortgage because of the wage gap and credit gap and our economic inequality between men and women that persists. And so what NCLC has worked on is that the person who obtains the house from a divorce or separation or as an heir to a family member should be able to communicate with the mortgage company about that loan, should be able to get a loan modification if they need one. And fortunately, we have had some progress in that area. There is a federal regulation that was issued by the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that protects these successors and gives them the right to get information about the mortgage. But we still hear about a lot of problems from the field of people who are struggling and where the mortgage company is not doing what they're supposed to do. And is there enough of a hook to enforce it? And then also with getting loan modifications, we still hear about women who are survivors of domestic violence who are being told you can't get a loan modification unless you get your ex to sign off on it. And we say, well, that number one is not correct. It's not according to the federal rules. And number two, it puts that person at risk. And there's no reason for that to be the answer from a mortgage company.
Mhm.
But we end up having to fight those issues a lot. And advocates around the country are having to fight those issues.
I'm glad you brought that up because we see that time and time again because of our clientele. Because, we've had a lot of clients who are single who had been living with their parents passed, they're in the same house, or like you said, they've been married, their spouse passes, and they can't get any information at all. And that's usually when I reach out to either one of you or the lender to get some help with that. Yeah, so that's really common.
Mhm.
We've been seeing that too.
Yeah, and I'll echo everything Sarah said, and I do think those issues disproportionately affect women, single mothers. Another area that we're working on that also disproportionately affects women is coerced debt. And so coerced debt is debt where a survivor is with an abuser, and the abuser takes out debt in the survivor's name without the survivor's knowledge, or through coercion, through threats of violence or harm if the survivor doesn't allow the abuser to use her information to, say, get a car loan or take out a credit card or buy an appliance or a television or something like that. And so we've been partnering with other domestic violence agencies, so the Center for Survivor Agency and Justice, CSAJ, where we work with them quite closely, and we are developing a model coerced debt law. And so this law states could implement it if they think that it's a possibility in their state to implement this law, but it would protect the survivor against debt collection for a coerced debt and credit reporting for a coerced debt. And so that's another area that is emerging that we're trying to get involved in. We're trying to get states to get involved in to try and pass stronger laws so that the survivor is not on the hook for this debt and their credit isn't ruined for years to come because an abuser has used their information to take out debt.
That's really important. And these are things that people don't even consider that could possibly happen at the time. And when you take that initiative to really push forth some kind of legislation or something to help these people so that, like you said, they're not strapped with this or poor credit for years or forever. So thank you very much. I don't know, Joe, you wanted to move on to a question, or are you ready for me?
Yeah, go ahead, jump
Okay.
on.
So I'm on the women's history part of this. So if either of you have a prominent woman in history or any woman who impacted your career choice, what you did going from when you were young to today, or what makes you tick today, is there a woman who really gave you that kind of inspiration?
Yeah, so I have two. I've been thinking about this, and I have two. On a global level, Mother Teresa, like that is the ultimate self-sacrifice, the ultimate passion for what you do, and accepting everyone where they are. I think that's what I really take from her, is her work in Calcutta and helping everybody, no matter where they were, what stage they were at, what phase they're at, and gratitude. Like I've read about her and how she was grateful for the mat she had to sleep on and the little rice she had for dinner, and like these simple things, and coming from a place of gratitude. I think that is just so important, especially in the work that we do. And we're always seeing people who are struggling, and we're seeing issues that are very detrimental to a lot of people, and people taking advantage of and being misled. And I think it's really, it can be very trying emotionally, physically, for us as attorneys and advocates, and coming from a place of gratitude and compassion. So that's what I really like about her. And then, of course, I love Elizabeth Warren. So
yes,
I have her picture. in my office.
St.
You know, I
Warren,
have a little
no.
pin. I just love her because
Sure.
she
Yeah.
again, the passion, like she
Yes.
is so passionate about helping consumers and leveling the playing field. And
Mhm.
you know, she started out as a practicing attorney, but then as a professor, and then entered Congress, where, I mean, just to enter Congress is a whole brave new world. And she was attacked and really, you know, targeted for the work she was doing and who she was. But she stood up and she fought against the banks. And there are some great video clips that are very inspiring of her and Jamie Dimon, and you know, just
Oh, yeah.
so just I
Yeah.
love her passion and her dedication and her just will to keep fighting.
I think those are two great examples, Andrea, especially in the work that we all do.
Yeah.
It really is. It's Mother Teresa. I think she said, we cannot all do great things, but we could all do small things with great love. So I
Yeah,
think
love
that love and compassion are pretty much hand in hand. So I like that. And Elizabeth Warren, she's a fighter. She's out there fighting like the two of you do every day. So
Yeah.
I didn't want to interrupt you, Andrew, but I enjoyed I enjoyed your picks. Sarah, did you have something?
I actually do. I was fortunate to clerk for a district court judge sort of in the middle of my career, Amy Totenberg in the Northern District of Georgia. And really for me, she is a tremendous example of a great woman lawyer. And in part because she had such an amazing career even before coming to the bench. She was a civil rights litigator in a very small firm, and brought one of the largest ever discrimination lawsuits against the state of Georgia for the way they were segregating the Central State Hospital in Milledgeville, Georgia. And she did that, you know, when she had young children and when she, you know, and she juggled it all. And I think she really, you know, went on from there to work in education and to actually work for the Atlanta Public Schools. And she also, you know, did work as a mediator and arbitrator, and she's now a terrific, amazing judge. But I think that the way she approaches life really beautifully demonstrates, you know, valuing your work and valuing your life outside of work, and balancing those things as best as possible, you know, as we all struggle along.
Yeah, it is. That whole work-life balance is a struggle. Yeah, but she's another woman who made a great difference in the world, you know, and especially for us, for women.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love that you both chose people who are both fighters and givers, you know?
Yeah.
And I know, Andrea, I read in your biography that you had a master's in social work. I was actually going to be, before I decided to go to law school, I was going to get a master's in marriage and family therapy. But I think bringing some of those skills to what we do is actually really useful because, you know, as Sarah, as you were talking about, when people come to us and they're about to lose their home, you know, sometimes no one's ever listened to their story before. A lot of times, you know, they don't know what they're going to get when they contact an attorney. Are they going to be told they did something wrong? They should have done something different. So approaching things, like you were saying, with some gratitude, and just, you know, in a compassionate way with our clients, I think is helpful too.
Yeah,
So
I
those were
agree.
both really interesting choices. I liked hearing those too.
Yeah. I'm gonna conclude my questions with one last one. Have you felt that gender, and I'm sure it has, played a role in your professional journey?
So I can think of times where I felt like I had to really stand up for myself as a woman lawyer against aggressive opposing counsel. And in those moments, what I sometimes think about is, what is my client feeling in this moment too? Because many times our clients have also been pushed around by an unfair system. And so sometimes we fake it till we make it, and we project confidence and power, because our clients are powerful, even though they go up against unfair forces all the time.
Yeah, very true. Andrea?
Yeah, I like that. I like putting yourself in the position of your client, because if you are feeling bullied and nervous and angry, how are they feeling? So I really like that, Sarah. And yeah, I mean, I experienced the same thing. I don't know if it was because of my gender or my, you know, perceived lack of experience. But when I was younger, definitely going against the banks and the credit card companies, and they would want to explain to me how things are done, and and they could be very, very difficult, and they could push hard, and I had to learn early on to set boundaries, and I didn't set boundaries at first, and I would be answering emails on the weekends and at night and trying to counterpoint them and say, no, this is how it is, or this is how it should be done, and fighting them. And I learned over time that's not always the best approach, and that I did have to set boundaries and not answer these emails after business hours, and maybe not answer them at all if they were bullying and inappropriate. Just let them go and take the high ground. So that probably was in part because of my gender. They felt they needed to explain things to me or be that way towards me, but it also was probably because of where I was coming from and who I was representing, honestly, like, being perceived as kind of this, do-gooder liberal or whatever, and they needed to set me straight. That's not how the world works, So, but I do think gender probably had a piece in that as well.
If we take anything from your message, which was completely jam-packed full of very valuable advice, I think 2 words: establish boundaries in every way, shape, and form. From,
Yes.
like you said, when you answer emails, if you answer emails, and how you should approach anybody and how you should allow them to approach you. So
Yes.
excellent advice.
Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Joe, what else did you have?
Well, I mean, we'll finish up because I know everybody's very busy and we're just grateful for the time you've given us. Is there anything that you want to put out through our feed to reach the residents of Broward, the Florida citizens here, anything that you feel like you want to convey through either NCLC or personally that you'd like our audience to know before we break? Could be legal, could be personal, whatever you want to say.
Don't be afraid to ask for help. I mean, it's out there, it's available, there is help, and it's okay to ask for help. Everybody needs help sometimes. And so that's what I would say to the residents. If you're facing an issue, just give a call, try and reach out. We see so many times where clients are so overwhelmed with what's going on financially, emotionally, physically, that they have a very hard time reaching out for help, or they're ashamed and they don't want anybody to know what's going on. So I guess what I would say is, reach out for help before it gets worse, and there is help available. And even if the first person or organization can't help you, hopefully they can direct you to somewhere else. But don't ignore it. Just try and get some assistance.
And I would say, I guess, to speak to the lawyers that may be listening, think about what we want our profession to be, and how to make it as professional in the best sense of that word, supporting each other as people, and also thinking about our obligations to serve even low-income people and to support organizations that do that.
I love that, Sarah. And I just want to say, we women have to stick together, honestly. We have to support each other and not put each other down and not be petty and gossipy. And we need to celebrate each other and cheer each other on and support each other and not be jealous or, spiteful, or, let's be there together for each other, and let's support each other and cheer each other on.
I love it. I'm gonna list those 4, not necessarily any order. Establish boundaries, reach out for help, maintain professionalism, and women should support women. This was a great discussion. Thank you so much for being here today. And thank you all for watching us here on Fridays with Friends at Coast to Coast Legal Aid. Remember, you could tune in every Friday at noon to watch our Fridays with Friends, Thursday at noon for Legal Learning. You could follow us on our Instagram page, on our YouTube, on Facebook, and you could apply for our services directly online at coasttocoastlegalaid.org. Thank you so much.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.